Hello everyone, and today I'll be reading a Dazai's listener by me. So let's get into it. He knew Dazai was protective, but you have never really had the chance to see that protective side of his. In fact, you really thought he was chill most of the time, and during any accident, he would not be that serious. No matter how much he knew he loved you, he never gave off that impression. But little did he know, he was very protective of those whom he loved, and especially of you. Something to guard, something precious, like a treasure to keep from everyone, a treasure to protect and make sure that it can be safe. He loved you beyond words, beyond what he could convey. And that's why he wasn't so good at showing it, so much as doing whatever he can to make sure you're happy and safe. And even then, he felt like he was doing such a bad job at it. That's why, when you were walking home and someone started harassing you, you were getting pretty nervous. You didn't know if you could call Dazai or not. Would he be busy? Would he even want to come? It probably wasn't that big of a deal. Maybe you were being a little bit sensitive. Maybe that guy who was staring at you and making comments about your body was not going to do anything. But even then, it terrified you. The way he was looking at you. The way he was making those creepy comments. And the way he could hurt you. Maybe you should call Dazai. And maybe you should toughen up and just continue walking home. But it didn't help. You were scared, terrified, and like a guardian angel, Dazai just happened to be on the same street. He went over to you and hugged you, kissing your cheek. You didn't even need to say anything about the guy. You didn't need to explain that you were scared, that there was a guy creeping you out. Because in moments, after that soft kiss on the cheek that you got from him, Dazai was on top of that guy, hitting him roughly. Hey there. I would say, if you had any manners, you wouldn't be scaring such a beautiful lady like mine. But apparently you have none. So I have to teach you a couple lessons. Isn't that right, my darling? He says, looking over at you. And you're not sure whether you're happy with this or terrified, because not only was he incredibly fast and incredibly smart at reading the situation without even needing to say a word, but he was very, very strong. And that guy had literally no chance in beating him. Dazai may look like a stick, and he may seem small, but you knew his past, the Port Mafia, and you knew his present. He worked with the Armed Detective Agency, and he was one of the strongest members there. Not to mention probably the smartest, besides Rampo. And it didn't help that things were getting a little bit complicated in this position. Because not only did you want the guy to get hit, you just wanted him not to die. And you weren't sure there could be a beautiful compromise in which both happened. So, you decided to be kind. Dazai, love, seriously, you don't need to do this. Oh, darling, but I need to. You see, he said, kicking him roughly, and into the wall that man goes, shouting, men like these, they deserve the worst treatment. They deserve to be in the pits of hell, he says in a poetic tone. And he's such a romantic, you truly love him. And you truly admire the noble act he's doing society by hitting that man over and over until he passes out. Don't worry about him. He will live. I'll make sure of it. He says with a dark chuckle, and you're not sure whether or not to be worried about that guy. Because even though he was someone who was very horrible, as to harass you and scare you, and probably many others and whatnot, you had no idea what he did, to be honest, but still. It felt a little bit overboard to go into torture. Either way, You were not going to intervene. He probably learned his lesson, and Dazai was not one for unnecessary cruelty, at least not as of late. You hugged him tightly, and you could tell that you were relieved that he was here. His hand went into your hair, stroking it gently, and there was that soft smile on his face. All that anger directed at the man a couple minutes ago, completely gone. I've got you, Mayan. I promise you. You're safe. I will never let anyone hurt you. Not as long as I'm around. I know that, Dazai. I was just terrified for a second. I didn't know whether or not to call you. Didn't want to bother you. You can bother me anytime. You know that. It's just, it's different. I don't want to be a burden. You're strong, but you have many others who need you. It's not just me around. There are countless others, Dazai. But even then, he shakes his head, cupping your face in his hands, and tilting your face up, so your eyes are looking into his. And even then, even when millions need me, I'll still be the first to respond to your call. And you blush, smiling at him, as he leans in, kissing you softly, making you melt into a kiss. And then he deepens it. The two of you, lost in that moment of need and want and love. A moment that you only desperately wanted, and now you had in the present. Dazai making up with you in broad daylight. He could be such a romantic when he wanted to, and he could be terrifying when he wants to be as well. But if anything, no matter what happened, and what he wanted to be, there was something he would always be without doubt. And that thing would be your lover. You knew that and he knew that as well. Because as much as you were his, he was yours. Your hearts completed one another, intertwined and functioning as one. And in his arms, you felt safe. And in yours, you felt complete. And like that, the day went on, the situation completely forgotten, while Dazai thought of things to do to make your day just a little bit better.